twist off.
I know. American beer.
A Coors. Love a good Coors banquet.
The Coors brothers. They're German out in Golden, Colorado. I've been to that brewery quite a few times.
Love a good banquet. It's one of my favorite cheap beers.
We would do the express tour. We used to work out that way, and we would go. Take the. We're in the door. We'd go to the tasting room, and we grab a half a dozen tastings.
When you were out doing ski patrol stuff?
No. I was working at the Fed Center, the USGS. I was installing modular office furniture for the USGS.
You had so many jobs.
Yeah.
So many jobs.
That was a good one, man. We used to just jerk off all day. Not literally.
Not actually, but metaphorically.
Yeah, exactly. We gave them good service, but, they deserved a good screwing. Excuse my expression.
Sure. Well, it's the government. They do a lot of screwing themselves.
Yeah, well, we gave them good value. We gave them enough value. It said, quickly, work, let success speak up. Okay.
Lame. It's not quite as insightful as a Snapple, is it?
Oh, no, haven't eaten a Snapple, drank a Snapple.
How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good, yeah. I had some PT today, getting my trying to get my back right, my mind right.
Well,
got my retirement hat on, so I'm thinking about it.
I love that hat.
I do too.
It warms my heart that you're moving in that direction.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I always tell everybody I'm trying it on for size.
Yeah, looks like it fits pretty good.
It fits pretty damn good. That's right.
Well, let's get into the episode, shall we? This is the Black Dog Salvage podcast.
All right.
Cheers.
Hello, America.
Hello, and welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage podcast. My name, of course, is Tay Whiteside, and beside me, as always,
the famous, the still standing, not retired Mike Whiteside.
Soon to be retired.
Soon retirement, I think, is a mindset, not necessarily a thing. So I'm trying to figure it out.
This information's wrong, but can you slate it up?
Sure.
Give me a nice smack.
Yeah, this is here it is.
There's the smack.
Right, we need some. It's a different salvage, obviously.
Yep. Today we will be talking about season 1, episode 12, coming down the home stretch, y'all.
Yeah.
The titled American Foursquare House, and it originally aired on the DIY Network on July 13th, 2013.
Okay. Yeah, we were rocking and rolling. This was an interesting house.
Fairmont, West Virginia.
Yeah, and it's up about halfway up the West Virginia route before you get to PA. About 5 hours away.
As you put it in the round table, you can't get there from here.
It's not very easy. Central, it's not like Central PA. Central PA, you got to go around the frontier of West Virginia, Maryland, and southern Pennsylvania. This was on the west quarter of the state, and it's coal town. Like everything else up that way, it was coal town, and
we'll get into that coal dust in a little bit for sure.
It definitely is quite makeup. That wasn't blackface, by the way. That was coal dust.
Yeah, the only real acceptable kind.
Anymore. That's true. Blackface. That's true. It was truly blackface. But anyway, we'll get there. Robert and I scouted this job quite a while ago, and when we looked at it the first time, the daughter of the owner had passed. And the daughter was was selling the property, and this house was going to come down. And so we went up and do a loop that we used to do. Rob and I used to just ride around the countryside looking for salvage. Yeah. And this was
real grassroots.
We didn't just go knock on a door. That we got a lead. We met the gal there, and I forget her name. Huey, I think was her last name. And it didn't look like much from the outside.
Yeah, it was oddly unassuming. It almost looked like a storefront of sorts from the street. You know, it had a.
And I think it was in its latter part of its life, because I think there was a salon or something in there. And when we walked in, it's like, boom, man, look at this stuff.
I mean, one of the more impressive period interiors that we've seen.
Yeah, and Robert
woodwork wise.
Yeah, I mean, and it was all hand built, custom made for where it's set. You know, and some things came out, you know, with a couple of pry bars, and some of the stuff didn't come out at all.
As we will discuss.
Yeah,
as we will discuss.
absolutely.
Before we get too deep, though, I want to get into some comments from last week's episode.
Okay.
Curtis is becoming a regular commenter. Curtis. Zeidelhack. He said, Mike, that has to be one of the most classic farts recorded since Blazing Saddles. Thanks for sharing.
It definitely had a seismic odoriferous kind of scale to it. I'm not sure, but you know, I can't. As Ted would say, I'm hard of smelling.
Yeah.
And so it was an audio.
Well, as we discussed, there's no better place to be hard of smelling than when you fart in a small room.
And that was a dark room. It got real dark.
It got dark.
Yeah. Thanks, Curtis.
I have to agree, Curtis. Doug Epperly chimes in here with an actual question. Hi, guys. Your show always put a smile on my face, and reliving the episodes with you is a treat.
Thank you.
I was curious if any building style, Victorian, Georgian, etc., is easier to demo than others. I also hope at some point Ted can join you for one of these podcasts. Loved his sense of humor. Best wishes, Doug.
Yeah. It's like this one. And if you saw it, and obviously you did. It was built to a certain style, kind of almost craftsman style, and it just depends on the age. You know, they used those square nails a long time ago. A little bit harder to pull.
They bite.
They do, and
they're brittle.
And they are very brittle, so they break in the wood. And if you got to make sure when you're milling stuff like that that you do a sweep on it, metal sweep on it, because a lot of those nails will break in the wood, you know, low, below the surface.
And they'll find your planer blades every time.
Lay waste to a planer blade for sure, and sander and everything else. But there's no particular one that gives it up or gives us more trouble. This one had a little bit of everything in it, you know, easy, hard, but it was all worthwhile, and every piece of that nowadays, I don't think there's one piece of Fairmont left in the building.
So good looking.
Yeah.
I would argue that the material the house is made of and who built it and how they built it has more to do with the specific architectural style when it comes to how difficult it is to disassemble, you know?
Right, yeah. I mean, newer homes are, of course, we don't do a lot of new homes, but
there's a reason for that.
They give it up pretty quick because they're using real skinny nails and
soft wood.
Just enough to hold it on the wall. But, you know, they built it back then, you know, that old adage, they don't build like anymore. It's pretty well proven.
With buildings and homes especially, it's never been more true.
Yeah.
Intricate, delicate trim work definitely makes things harder. Dental work and scroll work, and I'm thinking about there was a home we did on a farm, Sunny something. It's in the intro. The later.
Oh, that's Izzard House.
No. Later on, it was when they redid the intro to the show. You can see the show hauler driving up a long gravel driveway as the sun was coming up.
Okay.
There was a house we did on a farm.
Oh, it was over in.
You remember?
Yeah, Alderson.
Yes,
West Virginia.
And the bay window had this real delicate scroll work.
Yeah, it's called gingerbread or fretwork.
Yeah,
and
that stuff is very hard to salvage.
One bad sawzall placement can take that one out.
Yeah,
because just the vibration alone can loosen it, and it's not meant to be taken out.
It's very delicate.
You know, this house. It was meant, the way some of the stuff came out, it was almost like it was meant to be.
It's the opposite of that. It's like big, chunky pieces of wood.
But made for that, not built in place, but built in a cabinet shop and put in.
For that space.
Now, the wainscot paneling, different story.
It was always a joke. Was it built in or built on?
Yeah, Robert had a hard time with that one, yeah. Built in means it was built into the wall. That's the way I looked at it.
Uh-huh.
Built on is it's built on the wall.
Oh, so more talking about its relationship with the wall.
Yeah. In, on. Yeah, on wall. And again, Robert had an issue with it. it's just a slider for one of those things that I always had fun, poking him with.
Well, it sure was fun to watch.
Yeah, it still lives on. What else we got? Anything?
Ren, R-E-N-E, no accent. How would you say that? Reen Cruz.
Okay.
Don't mean to be redundant, but I love the show and love the podcast. I make sure to watch each episode before listening to the related podcasts.
How cool is that?
So much fun. So they're doing what we do.
Yeah.
And I've been having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it is.
Get to relive it.
We get about a year and a half, about 2.5 years of this. We do one every week.
Yeah, and then we'll be podcast pros, and we'll have a big millions and millions and millions of followers.
And let's go to break to commercial here. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell, and leave a comment.
That's the YouTube script.
That's it. I watch a lot of YouTube, by the way.
That's all I watch now.
Yeah.
For real, though, y'all. Subscribe to Black Dog Salvage on YouTube. Means a lot. Helps us keep going.
Yeah.
Curtis also wanted to thank you about the kind words for his dad's service in the Pearl Harbor era as a Marine.
Yep. They a lot of people sacrificed for that, and got to hold them high in regards.
Flyfisher63 says, Mike, that recorded fart rivaled Dangerfield in Caddyshack.
Whoa, that's monumental. I'm not worthy, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Kristen Phelps. Fabio is the Harlequin romance model Mike was thinking of. I said Fabio.
Did you say Fabio?
Uh-huh.
Did you? Okay.
Uh-huh. Look at, I barely know what I'm talking about.
I was thinking, the guy with the long hair,
Yeah, and he's often shirtless on a horse.
Oh, he's always shirtless. Yeah. And he's holding a woman.
And doesn't he have he'll wear like a collar of a shirt, but then no shirt below?
Sometimes he has the fluffy pirate shirts, the I think they call them pirate shirts in Seinfeld,
Oh, where it's just the cuff.
It's cuff, and it's really billowy.
Yes, and, like a Mozart shirt.
Puffy shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My girlfriend Shelby said, yes, it's Fabio Lanzoni.
Yep, I thought it was Italian, but Fabio. I mean, you got to be Italian if your name Fabio.
Oh yeah. Wendy Dixon said.
Fabio.
Wendy Dixon said, still loads of red phone boxes here in the UK.
Oh, is that right?
How about that?
Yeah, I thought they were all gone, or most of them gone. Maybe they are, but I'm sure they're not operational. I mean, because when I was traveling around the world, you found a phone that you could dial home on, and you coveted that phone.
Yeah, right.
No, we didn't have cell phones back then. You had to go. I remember calling your mom one night. It was midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning in Gibraltar.
Oh, wow.
So it was early morning there, and I just watched Seven.
What an incredible movie.
That scared me to death. As soon as I quit watching that, I mean, I should have turned it off.
What's in the box?
I walked down the dock and called your mom.
Aw.
Yeah. Hey, everything okay? I just watched a damn scary movie.
That movie's so good.
It was bad.
Brad Pitt.
Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah. So the writing in that movie was so good.
McDowell, who was the guy that was the wacko?
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway.
I had another relevant point. It doesn't matter. Clearly, it wasn't that relevant.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, right. If you want to have us answer a comment like we just did, be sure to comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, Black Dog Salvage on YouTube. We'll read anything.
Almost. We'll edit it a little bit if needed.
Yeah.
But we'll get the point across and answer your question.
But we touched on it a bit, but let's get into this episode. So another 21 minutes of C-plus television here. The episode opens with one of my personal favorite wows that you brought in. It was as you said, a 1965 Volkswagen based Dune Buggy.
It was just the chassis, and the motor. Of course, the
mainly
motor,
just the engine.
Gearbox was bad, and everything was bad on it. But we,
how did it all happen, man?
We were out in the woods somewhere, and we were delivering something. Ted and I.
Oh, so this actually happened.
It actually happened, yeah. And then I went and talked to the guy that I saw it. We were doing a little picnic there, and I went and talked to him. Said, "Hey, how much for the sand buggy?"
Uh-huh.
And he said $800. Wow.
That's hard to pass that.
I didn't. And it had been titled in Florida somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
And I never titled it, but I just liked it. So it was kind of funny how we put it in the truck. It was the old Isuzu.
With the lift gate.
We used the lift gate. We parked the front wheels on the lift, and then we had a forklift that was just barely operational.
Oh, wow.
And we lifted everything together.
Yeah.
And then rolled it into the truck.
Pretty good.
And it came off the same way, really. Yeah. And so, but I bought that personally. I mean, Robert plays like it.
Like Black Dog
bought it. As a matter of fact, I still have it. It's looking a lot worse for wear.
We had you and I have some personal history with that. Well, you, for starters, have a history with Volkswagens, don't you? That goes back for quite a while.
That's what I learned to drive on, 1965.
Really?
Yep.
Beetle?
My dad had a red Beetle, and that was our main car. We had 4 kids, 2 adults, and that was our only car.
Oh my God!
3 of my sisters, 2 of my sisters and myself would sit in the back seat, mom and dad in the front, and my small sister Jody would sit in the luggage box.
In the front?
In the back. In the back, right behind the back seat, there was a little place for luggage.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the front too, but this was the little cubby, and so she was small, and so we stuck her back there. And we wouldn't go too far. We'd go down to South Carolina to visit my grandma.
The sheer human density in that car.
Yeah, we were little.
Sure.
But I blew that motor on that thing probably 3 times.
So did you get that car when you started driving?
No. Oh. No, that was still primary car. So when we got licensed, though, my mom was.
But while driving it,
I'd race it. Racing Volkswagens on the highway.
Yeah.
It had no get up and go, but
sure.
I plowed it, and I called my dad. Oh, this thing quit working on me. Did you blow that motor again? I don't know. It stopped working.
Well,
3 times.
In that era in Charlotte, when you blow a Volkswagen motor, what did you do?
Took it to the guy that fixed Volkswagen motors.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one guy that I had, and I forget his name, and he was, matter of fact, this guy, can't remember his name. He was such a good mechanic. He could change an engine on a Volkswagen in white tux.
I love it.
And it just his hands.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
That sounds like a Volkswagen kind of guy.
Well, he was a hybrid, but anyway, I forget his name. Anyway,
sounds like Jamie Heineman from MythBusters.
Yeah, just so he didn't wear it.
Yeah,
like I do. I wear everything. But anyway,
generally get away.
Yeah, you do a good job.
Got free.
Most everything sits on the shelf here. When it drops out of my mouth, or I can't see it. And matter of fact, I had one on my coat today. It's like I was picking up something, and there was a dollop of mustard on my coat. And it's like I didn't know it. I was going to go see somebody, and I said, "Oh my God!" I had to clean it up. What your mom cleans your stuff.
Yeah, licks your thumb
and wipes it off.
Yeah, you need someone to follow your.
This
episode sponsored by Tide. Yeah. It's the stain remover that you need.
Yeah, whatever it is. But
it's not Tide. We are open to sponsors.
Yeah, anyway, it was a fun pick.
Yeah, well, and then as you said, it's still at your house, and we drove it around. I guess third gear was the only gear you had.
But
for a while.
I got it fixed. I got that fixed when we had it.
You did get it fixed.
I did get it fixed. Yeah.
And it ran pretty good for a little while.
Yeah, you just had to put fuel in it and fill up the tires.
I wonder why it stopped. When did it? What was the thing? I think I hooned it around a little bit.
Well, you probably did. You were probably gone by then. You were doing something else. I don't know. I don't think you were living at home, but
I was probably maybe 20 at the time.
Yeah. Anyway, we'd run up in the orchard with it and back down, and it was just a fun thing. Still got it. Put another motor in it. $600. Put another motor in it.
Oh, that's a second motor.
Yeah. Well, a motor in the gearbox.
Right.
That was the problem.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
Because then it did stop running again for some reason.
I quit driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it's just sitting there.
It was built. Did the guy build it on his farm? Because
I don't think a farmer must have put it together because the welds were awful. They make me look like a professional welder.
It had what I still call farm welds on it. Where
it was a stick and it was turned up high. And it was
like toothpaste squeezing in
he wasn't even a good grinder. He didn't grind it off. He just left it.
No.
So.
Well, it'd be weaker if he ground it, so just leave it.
Yeah, it was all good. It's still pretty much intact. And if you want it, by the way, I can sell it to you.
Do you want to own a piece of history?
That's right. I'll get it running for you.
Hey. $800. No,
a little more than that. But I told Robert $1,000 that we paid for it. That was just for TV.
Yeah. That's still way cool.
It was a good one, you know. And of course, you know, Robert didn't he played his part. You know?
I mean, as Walker said, we were watching it together. Robert plays an incredible straight man.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just so good.
You can predict what Robert's going to say just because that's who Robert is, and it really isn't that far away from the truth.
That's him.
Yeah,
that's why it worked.
Yeah, it is why it worked. You know, you had to have the yin and yang.
Yeah,
I was the yang.
Yeah, you were all yang, man.
get your yang on. But what else we got? We got the build.
Yeah, yeah. So that was interesting. We had the round table, and then it cuts right into the build, and the build was for a gentleman named David Dunkenberger, who owns Firefly Hill Vineyards.
Firefly Hill, yeah. It's hard to say.
Firefly Hill. Where's the vineyard? It's still there.
It's still. He sold it about a year ago.
Yeah, and I actually met the woman who is currently in charge of the property now.
English Meadows gal. English Meadows.
Yeah, what's their company? They're
English. Well, it's a retirement home.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, used as sort of a resort.
Well, they bring in, they do training and executive training and stuff.
I can't remember. My friend Gus and his girlfriend is the one who runs it.
And David, we built some pieces for David and Allison.
Yes.
Allison. And so they came to us, and of course we kind of front loaded a little bit. David was doing IT for us.
So he was already involved.
He was.
Because for those that don't know, David Dunkenberger, who first, you know, we knew him, but you guys first saw in this episode, he ended up being the general manager of Black Dog for probably 10 years.
At least, yeah.
Probably not long after this was shot.
We wore him out, and he had to go. He had to leave.
Yeah, well,
like everything else we do.
Yeah, time for
we squeeze every bit of goodness out of you, and off you go.
Yeah, I didn't go far. But.
No, but you got out is what I'm getting at. You know.
Yeah,
but they had a great winery. It was pretty decent wine. You know,
I must have had some at some point.
Yeah, they had tasting room and they did things, but really it was kind of funny. Before they sold the winery, they had a national exposure to somebody came in one night and stole all their grapes. It was harvest season.
The grape thief.
Stole them all. You know, I don't know how you do that. It wasn't a huge winery. It was kind of a boutique winery.
Yeah.
I don't know how many acres he had, 10 acres or something.
Yeah.
Dave can tell us that. But made national news that somebody had come in. David made a post on, I guess it was Facebook, that what he was going to do to the person if he ever found him. And I'll leave that. I mean,
Wasn't it something about like hanging him from his toes?
It was going to be
ceiling?
It was bad. That was bad.
Well, then he got attention for that post.
Yeah, and then somebody picked up some winery out in Washington State, said, "I'll give you what you lost.
Wow.
Just come and I'll truck it over to you." And so David went across and bought, and he didn't even buy it, just he was given the grapes.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it all ended up good. And
I'm sure in the wine community, that story probably grew legs.
Well, it did. Like. I mean, it was 15 minutes of fame for sure. And I'm still kind of doubtful that it happened, but you know, far be it from me to say.
The rambling grape thief.
I think it was staged, but you know, it was a great story. David, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that on public radio.
That's so funny. I almost want to call him and see if he'd want to talk about it.
Well, we got other things to talk about.
Sure. So then, how real, let's say, was this build?
Build was actual.
Right. I mean, I know it happened, but did he come?
Yeah, he said he needed something in for that part of the room. There's a tasting room in the house they had, and they wanted something fun, something to do with wine.
A chandelier,
and
specifically.
So we built a scaffold in there, and we sized it, and the actual build was real, and it's still there.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I thought so. You know, you see them a lot now on Pinterest, and there's people that have made them, and I probably picked up the idea on Pinterest, but
it just leaks in.
It's just, you know, it's all affected. You know, there's nothing original out there. It's just abbreviations of everybody else's stuff.
Look at AI art now. It's like it's truly the put everything in a blender and here's a generic version of everything.
Yeah.
Automatically generated.
I see Picasso in there, and there's some Rembrandt, and there's some
kind of sad.
Yeah, Dilbert McGillicuddy.
What a name. So for those that haven't seen the episode, Dad made a chandelier out of wine barrel staves.
Yep.
And a stave is one of the individual curved wooden pieces that makes up a barrel.
There's no straight lines on it.
It's such an interesting way.
It's curved and it's beveled.
Yeah.
So and the only thing that keeps it together are the rings, and these things are charred just like all the other ones. They're run through a it's funny to watch a Cooper. I think it's a Cooper.
A Cooper is one who makes a barrel.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. Then they char it and then put together, and then once the moisture or the whatever you're putting in it, bourbon or wine or beer or whatever, it expands.
Because the wood swells and it
seals it up.
That's so cool.
That's how boats were made, basically.
Right.
Boats were made when they did planking. They put chinking in there, and then the boat would, when you put it in the water, it would start to basically sink right away until the wood swelled, and then it got tight.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you just bail out until it stops coming.
You better bail out. Yeah. Well, that's what I remember. Of course, I'm not. I didn't run too many
Viking ships.
Well, no, just wooden boats.
Yeah.
Most of the wooden boats I ran they had fiberglass covered the bottom, so it was kind of protected a little bit.
A wooden body, but
but you don't ever put a wooden boat on out of the water for long, because it'll just turn into a bunch of sticks.
It's kind of beautiful how fragile it is.
It is
almost temporary.
But the strength the barrels, you can throw barrels off a truck and they won't break
because of that sort of
the circle.
Yeah,
it's the circle keeps it up. It's without you take one stave out or pop one top on it and it'll fall apart.
The whole thing
so
falls
it's
apart.
It's kind of spiritual thing. Just the circle.
Yeah, the circle of wine.
May it be unbroken.
Yeah.
As the song goes.
So, what a unique building material for a chandelier.
Oh, there's a lot of wine art, barrel art out there these days.
Yeah.
People do a lot of cool stuff. We have furniture at Black Dog that are made, stools and wine racks and stuff like that are made. And we have one of our vendors that makes it. So,
one thing I thought that was fascinating about building with a wine barrel is the inside is stained the color of the liquid that was in it.
It's either stained or charred.
Beautiful, like purple wine color.
Yeah.
Which who knows what it would take to recreate that.
And all these are oak. All barrels are made of white oak.
Really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's beautiful stuff.
Well, and uniquely, I thought it just jumped out to me in this build too was we got like a direct look into your creative process.
Brain.
Like you could see we watched you kind of hold two up like this, and okay,
you kind of have to model stuff.
Do we go like this? Do we go out? And you kind of did this in front of them.
Well, I did a kind of a drawing before, just a little stick drawing, and then we kind of added to that, and they were brave enough to let me do it.
That's what's cool, and you and I both are still in the custom fabrication business, and so when someone will and trusts you with their vision and trusts your interpretation of their vision, it's one of the more special feelings, I think,
it is.
In building.
And the only holdbacks is, I can't defy physics. I can't, gravity, and I can't spend any more money than you got.
Well, and if you are creative and you are a builder, you're almost one of the best designers ever, because you will design and draw and create within realistic ramifications.
Yeah,
criteria.
Sometimes you reach,
sure,
overreach, maybe.
Which is good. It pushes you.
It does.
Solve problems.
But at the end of the day, it comes back to physics.
Oh, how do we build this? It's like the age-old architect versus builder debacle.
Yeah, they draw these beautiful pictures, but how does it go together?
Yeah, you're like, well, you can only buy this panel in 4x8 sections. So
they only make these in Star Trek.
Yeah.
What was that one on the Star Trek? The clear aluminum. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't, but that sounds like some Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, old Scotty came in and they had this clear aluminum. They were going to tote a whale from San Francisco because the whales were dying.
Interesting.
And he needed this, so it was funny. Google it. Clear aluminum.
Well, in that universe, sure, why not?
Yeah, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
But the build I think it came out great.
It was fun.
I mean, lighting is one of the tougher things to get right, but when you do, it's really satisfying. Because there's that turn the switch on moment, and you're like, well, now it's a thing.
And you got to build it so it does that. So a lot of times you can build a light and then turn the light on. It's like, oh, that didn't work.
And then also, where are all the wires going to go?
Yeah.
Are they hidden? Is there a box? How do 10 lights come into one cord?
Yeah.
All those
well,
connections.
you've built quite a few chandeliers and stuff, which will be kind of cool to see some of those in the coming episodes.
I built some wild chandeliers at Black Dog. In fact, I'm going to say 30 seconds in, I'm going to say chandelier.
30 minutes in.
Picks, 30 minutes in. Here's right here. We'll throw up some of the cooler chandeliers we built at Black Dog. There was one we built for the
barn people,
the owners of Snyder Utz Snack Foods in Hanover, Pennsylvania. They had that party barn.
Was that the man cave?
The man cave thing.
.com.
Yeah. But I built a chandelier with crystals from. Well, we'll talk about this when we get there. But
it was cool.
Yeah, giant disco ball came out of the middle of it. Used a ring from a bowling pin setting machine.
That whole thing, the bar and everything, was really awesome.
It was wild. Yeah. One of the cooler things.
It was.
Anyway, there's that. And there's some others, but
yeah.
But good job, man. That's a heck of a good looking chandelier.
Yeah, I like lighting. It's a fun, and I see it in everything. It just. You don't want to go inside my mind, but it's, I see stuff. I'll just look at things. I'm driving down the road and I'll see a shape and I'm going like, oh,
Is there anyone with us right now here?
I don't know. Is there? I'm here.
I mean, behind me at the table.
Yeah. I don't know.
So you see stuff.
Where's my spirit guide?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is with the mullet. But that was a fun
one. There was a comment here. That I felt like we said it actually twice in this episode: a spec piece versus a custom piece.
Right. Speculation is what spec means.
Yeah, okay.
It's a spec piece. I mean, I'm gambling that I can sell it.
And so what I came to understand was a spec piece was one we built that would just go for sale
on the floor.
That isn't spoken for.
It's not spoken for. So
I'm
building it for future purchases.
Yeah.
And a custom piece is just that. It's
building exactly what somebody wanted.
You work out the design with them, and then you got to do your best to be 100%, at least 95% representation of it. And scale's huge. I mean, you can build too big a piece for a small room or a too small a piece for a big room, and it's got a balance. And
I call that the eyeball test. Like with furniture specifically, and anything architectural, like proportion. Humans are so sensitive to patterns and proportion and scale.
Well, you can
even someone who doesn't build furniture can look at something that's built with the wrong proportions and go, that doesn't look. Well, I don't know why, but that doesn't look right.
Well, it doesn't look right in the environment it's sitting in.
Sure,
because we got big overheads at Black Dog, and we put something in there and it fits, and it doesn't look too big.
Right.
And it's actually 9 foot tall, and you can't get it in the door of a house.
Put it in an apartment, and it's the biggest thing.
And that's one thing you really, when you're doing builds, is you're going like, we're building this thing for a house. How are we going to get it in? And that's a real big thing. And we've done a couple builds that I looked at going like, guys, this ain't going to go in the house unless they got double doors and 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
And you got to pay attention to that, and that's part of, one of the questions you have to ask when you're doing a custom build is, where's it going?
Yeah.
And even when you're doing a spec build, who are you going to sell it to? If you make it to where it can fit in a nominal room, a normal size room, then you stand a lot better chance of selling it instead of going like, this person's got to come with a New York loft with a freight elevator,
For instance.
Yeah. If you got one of those, yay. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so with furniture, for sure, there's typical sizes of most things, like chairs. People are usually, they size fairly similarly as far as furniture goes.
Oh.
The height here of a table. And
it's 30 inches.
I like all my stuff taller.
Plus
anyway,
or minus,
Still.
Chair is 18 inches tall, plus or minus.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell if it's too big.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, we're the steps. I mean, we're programmed. We're good bots.
It reminds me of a story I heard about a guy in England who, I can't remember what kind of car it was. Maybe it might have been a TVR or an Aston Martin or something. He wanted a supercar, couldn't afford it, so he basically bought a kit and assembled, and didn't have a garage, so he built it in the basement of his house.
Yeah.
Piece by piece.
Yeah.
And when he finished it,
couldn't get it out.
he had no way to get it out of the house, so he had to cut a hole in the wall of his house to drive his new kit-built supercar out of the house.
It's a hobby.
It's awesome.
People do that with planes and boats all the time.
And I just wondered at what point in the build did he realize that it wasn't going to fit out, and he must have just gone, screw it, I'll figure it out later.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice piece of furniture till then, you know. He was a bachelor, most likely.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
If he wasn't to begin with, he was by the end of the project.
Honey, what are you going to do with that car? What car?
Yeah, it's my new bed.
Where you're going to sleep in it.
Well, then, let's mosey back up to Fairmont, West Virginia.
Yep.
We end up referencing, we referenced this job for years afterwards, not only because of the quality of the stuff, but how hard it was to get out and the drive. I have a particular memory of the drive home that we'll talk about. But so this was a job you and Robert found cruising. Yeah,
we got a call or email from Miss Hughes, I forget her first name, that this was going to be coming down. Her dad was had the Land Rover dealership in that area forever. Yeah, and that was pretty cool.
At this time, you probably had
I did,
Range Rover.
And I love Range Rovers. Best car I've ever had. I mean, they're expensive and they're hard to fix, but man, you never got one stuck. Never.
They are very capable.
And I've given them plenty of opportunity.
That old County you had, the white one.
Yeah, that was great.
Those are great.
So he was that, but he passed, and this was, there was some stuff left over from him, especially in the basement. Which was pretty cool. But it was just a well-made house. This is where he raised their family, and it just became it lived its purpose, so to speak, and it was time for it to go away. The land was worth more than that, and it was a pretty rough area of Fairmont.
I remember that. Yeah, it wasn't particularly glitzy by any means.
I don't think that Fairmont falls into the glitzy category. I mean,
it's an old coal town.
Yeah, people that live there, obviously, and it was nice. I mean, I remember having a birthday during this time, and we ate at Maria's. You remember that?
I think I remember going into town.
Dan Curtis, my Titleist rep friend, told me about it, and he says every time I go up there, because he serviced golf courses for Titleist, and he said, you got to stop by Maria's.
Oh, cool.
And we did. It was my birthday, matter of fact.
I remember driving into town, and we packed into a van and drove in and had dinner.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was only down the street from where we were doing our work anyway. Mm-hmm. We had an opportunity also to go back there and look at another job, but we didn't get it. It was a church. I mean, it was chock a block. It had a skylight in it.
Whoa.
Stainless steel. I mean, a stained glass skylight.
Dome.
Whoa. It was amazing.
What an extrication that would be.
I didn't get it.
Yeah,
that's all right though.
You gotta know when to fold them.
Yeah. Well, they didn't accept our bid. First off, we're notoriously cheap.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard, man.
Well,
gotta leave room.
Well, it looks good there, but as soon as you start prying it off a wall or pulling something out, it falls. A lot of times, if you get 50% of the stuff or maybe a little more, you're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of it doesn't make it.
Right.
Because it's not meant to come out again.
No.
But this house did make it, because the stuff that was in there was built in a cabinet shop for this particular. It was built perfectly, and that's how they do it now. They build a cabinet shop, unless it's stick built, they call it, where they build it all in place.
Yeah.
So this was all built somewhere. We didn't have any maker's marks on it, so we didn't know who built it.
You really think anyway? We were after doors with jambs, as Robert said. I think they were oak doors,
probably,
and jambs. So their value is that the jam's already built, so if we can harvest
the
whole thing.
Yeah, he uses that a lot. We sell more single doors without jams.
Yeah.
and I can't seem to sell a door with a jam.
Well, because he's a builder.
He's a builder, and he knows how he would do it.
But
yeah.
Built-ins, wainscoting. What is wainscoting?
It's wall panel.
Why is it called wainscoting?
Because Wayne made it originally. I don't know. That's a good question.
I told myself I was going to Google this while we talk.
Yeah, it's but you see a lot of chair rails, but it comes floor up to a normal wainscoting, somewhere around 36 to 48 inches. This was probably 6 foot or better. It was tall, And you see tall wainscoting in a lot of older homes, more prestigious homes. But
Wainscoting.
Wainscoting, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a stylish trim that guards against scuffs and scratches.
Yeah, a lot of chair rail molding, they call it.
Chair rails, the sort of light version, modern version of wainscoting.
Yeah, well, usually it's just a piece of trim that goes around at the chair height. When you push a chair back, it hits the rail instead of the wall, so it doesn't scuff it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here, this is from This Old House. What is wainscoting? A combination of decorative boards or panels and moldings that extend partway up a wall's face. Wainscoting is a centuries-old marriage of form and style. Dating to the 1300s, the Dutch used it to shield the bottom half of plaster walls from such hazard as jostled chairs, spurs on riding boots, perhaps even carelessly swung scabbards. I don't know what that is.
Scabbard? That's a good question. It's a good question. What's a scabbard?
No.
Don't keep.
Yeah.
we can keep going to Google infinity.
But as far as wainscoting is concerned, this is probably some of the nicest we've ever seen.
It is, and of course, if you see the show, it didn't give it up very very easily. It was made, probably built in place.
Yeah.
All those pieces were
layer on layer on layer.
Base layer, the stiles and rails and panels and all that stuff was put together, probably in place. Probably it was milled at the shop, but then assembled there, and it was nailed hard.
Well, that was the joke, is that they got paid by the nail.
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah. We call it a Wednesday or a Friday or something. Fridays they don't get many nails. Wednesdays you get a lot of nails.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday job.
That was a Wednesday job.
God. Well, and you and Robert divided and conquered. You went to the built-in/ons.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have the hard job.
Yeah, because these things were floor to ceiling.
Usually, wainscoting comes off pretty easily, typically, But these cupboards, I thought I was going to have a hard time with them. Man, they just let go, And we had this. Ted and I had these things out and almost in the truck before Robert even had the cap of the wainscot out.
I think he was still in pre-surgery by the time you guys were done.
It was he needed some surgery for that. He could tell he was getting frustrated with it, but he didn't give up. One thing about Robert, he stays on task and he doesn't let him whip him. Sometimes to his detriment. Sometimes it's better to know when to quit, but you just don't quit on something like that. It's too good.
Yeah.
And it's going to come off. You just got to make sure we bring it off to where it can be used like it is. And it sold just like that.
Did it?
Yeah.
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 Well, the discussion, of course, was as far as removal's concerned, where's the seam? And if we can't find one, do we create one? And if we create one, how long pieces do you cut it into?
Well, you're going to sacrifice something. So you find a place where you can sacrifice, and there wasn't a good place.
And Robert was adamant, no seams.
No seams.
We get it all
or nothing.
The whole wall.
Well, if you take it apart in pieces, that's all you got. It'll never go back.
Sure.
It'll never go back the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because we're not archaeologists. We're not unearthing Egypt.
Yeah.
We're destroying America.
Yeah. One salvage job at a time.
And Robert went. And of course, he pulled the tub out too, which was which was a cast iron enameled tub, not an earthenware.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a corner mount.
Yeah, which means it had like two skirts.
Yeah, it was
on a skirt on two sides and then nothing on the other two sides because it was built kind of into the wall.
It was built for a corner.
Yeah.
Instead of a wall or a three-sided like most people have these days, it's a three-sided tub. Mm-hmm. So the front is the only part that is more decorative. It comes down. Its wainscoting goes to the floor.
Right.
So it was a nice one, and we had to muscle it out like always.
Lots of funny discussion there about mishandling per se of the tub. Dragging it on the finished surface versus the back.
And if you're watching us do this, we are tearing up the house as we go along.
The floor is getting ruined.
Even though we did pull the treads, and when we were finished upstairs, we did pull the treads off the stairs. Mm-hmm. And so there was nothing left. You had to monkey yourself up the thing.
Was there a reason we decided not to take the floor of this house? I can just hear someone asking that now.
Yeah, I don't know why. A lot of times it has to do with time.
Yeah,
and
it's really.
I think they had put new floor on top of it. I think is what it was. So by the time you do that,
So it's just a mess of nails anyway.
You've ruined it. Yeah. So if you see where we're dragging stuff across the floor, we are screwing up the floor.
We were doing that consciously.
Yeah. Well, if it was, of course, the floor is the last thing you pull out. So if you don't want to screw it up, you got to protect it, and we didn't.
Yeah.
But we got cool mantles out of there, and the one where Robert had probably his biggest angina attack was the mantle with the two bookshelves on either side.
Yeah, these were sort of glass door cabinets on either side of the fireplace.
Beautiful, and
really, I mean, big too. These,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole house was the scale. It was 12-foot ceilings probably.
Right, and if you're looking at it went out the door, so a door was around 80 inches tall, a little more.
Yeah.
So it was probably over 6 feet, probably 7 feet almost.
But real pretty cabinets, wavy glass in the door, in the cabinet doors, and
so we had to get them out, and they were kind of cumbersome. So and it just went out the door. So I used a ramp. Matter of fact, and we still have those planks.
Those ramps have seen it.
Those 3 boards or 3 ramps, and we kept it in the trailer.
Yeah.
That you drove home or tried to drive home.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk about it.
it was really resilient. That was the first thing I made for that trailer, so we could wheel stuff on it.
Yeah,
so it was
the infamous box trailer.
and I still have them.
Yeah, one of them's screwed together with plywood on the back side.
Yeah, it's got a little Band-Aid on it, but
yeah.
They really served, and they were perfect for this. But what happened is when we got out onto the ramp, which were these planks, I had the wheel, the hand truck underneath it on the front end of it. So I took the weight off, and it was only sitting on the back. So this thing took off.
Yeah.
And I thought it would stop when it hit but it didn't. It just kept going, and the whole thing came off the ramp.
And then that's a game time decision right there.
Yep.
Time to ride it.
You had to. You don't have any.
Yeah.
I mean, you can jump in front of it and sacrifice yourself, or you can just say, look like Slim Pickens riding the missile down, and Dr. Strangelove, hee-haw. And, of course, gave Robert just a heart attack,
I mean, that was one of the funnier moments of discourse between you guys in season 1.
Right.
Was he claimed you broke it.
Yep.
And said, you quickly retorted with, I didn't break it. You see, it's good. And then he goes, well, what about that piece that I screwed back together? And you go, oh, well, just part of it broke off. And he goes, wait, what was that word you said?
Yeah, B-R-O-K-E.
B-R-O-K-E, broke.
Yeah, I broke that. Okay.
But.
So I said, L-O-O-K, it now.
Add it now.
Yeah. That was a funny one.
That was great. And really, as far as extrication damage goes, very minimal.
I mean, it could have been a disaster.
A total
Absolutely
loss.
disaster. But it didn't, and it made for great TV, by the way.
Some of the best of season 1.
That was it was like the pinnacle of the production crew are always looking for that, and they're always set up because we took one cabinet out first. That was maybe that was the first one.
No, that was the second one because I referenced, well, this is how we did the other one.
Okay.
That Robert didn't watch us do.
Right.
Yeah.
Did we do it the same way?
I don't know.
I can't remember either.
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. That's the one you see, and that's the one that we got to live with. And it was good. It was like I said, it could have been a disaster, and Robert would have just had a cow.
Yeah.
But,
and that would have been great TV, too.
Oh, the best.
Maybe better.
Well, every once in a while, it does happen. I always tell the guys, and we let them know what we're doing.
Yeah.
The production guys. So this is what we're going to do, and so they position themselves either on one side or the other, and wait for the disaster.
Yeah.
And sometimes it happens, and sometimes we get this.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It was half and half. We got a micro disaster that made it funny.
Potential disaster you didn't. When it's like when something flies by your head, going like, "Oh, that would have hurt."
I almost died.
Yeah,
but didn't. We're good.
Yeah, that could have ended differently.
Yeah, Black Dog was a disaster in potential.
Always.
Yeah,
always. What else did we get out of that? That was
well, and the tub was another funny, piece of thing.
Doors.
We got the tub down the stairs quickly. That's what I wrote down in my notes.
Yeah, quickly.
Rather fast.
Well, gravity is a wonderful thing if you can harness it. We had there's a guy that was helping us too, Pat Harrison.
Pat.
Did you see him on there?
What's that? It's Pat.
Pat Harrison. He's a great picker. He worked at the paper plant up in Covington.
Yeah.
But he's a very skilled antique guy, and primitives, and just a great individual. And he, every once in a while we'll just pick somebody up. So we were on our way, and Covington is on the way to Fairmont. So we just pull over the side of the road. I'll pick you up at exit 27 or something. You know? And so we took it. And did it, and he helped a lot. He's good sense of humor,
hilarious.
We've dealt
Super
with
nice.
him and his wife through the years of when we did some picking with him at one time up in either Clifton Forge or Covington. I
think it is Covington. I think you're right.
Yeah,
but so we had and Grayson, so 6. We had 6 bodies on this one.
Yeah, and we needed every bit of it because, well, you had to leave.
I had a final exam. Maybe at the
next day.
Yeah, I guess we were on it probably for 2 days, and you guys were going to stay the second night just because why not? You're tired.
We're beat.
Go. I had to make it home that second day evening so that I could wake up and take a final.
And that was the box trailer that
it was the
wore out.
Yeah,
the old box trailer.
Old red, the Chevy dually,
and this
late
was
90s old body style dually.
And I
truck.
remember getting the cell phone call from you and saying the car died or the truck died.
Well, and this is how it happened. I've told this story quite a lot since. See you, Walker.
See you, Walker.
Fairmont, that part of West Virginia is very hilly, very mountainy, and
near Somerville.
And we had that trailer and truck loaded.
Yeah,
I mean, just loaded up. And it was that era Chevy was a gas V8. I think it was a 454.
Yep, huge motor,
big gas engine, and hauling up some of those hills. I mean, you had your foot buried in the mat just to get it going. And maybe not how it should have been driven, but, you kind of just give it what it gets.
It served us well.
And all of a sudden, I was climbing one particular hill, and you notice that you're losing power. And then all of a sudden, I think I heard a series of kind of clicks, and I saw the oil pressure gauge just hit the ground, all the way to 0.
Yeah, not a good indicator,
and not really what you want.
not anywhere, but especially there because West Virginia is a hilly.
Yeah. So something broke, a connecting rod snapped, or a piston kissed a valve, or something, and the engine essentially was locked up and toast. Yeah. So I just sort of drifted to the side of the road, and middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it was on the way to nowhere. Anyway.
Yeah. So I called you, and then I think you probably told me to call Mike Pay.
Yeah. I said, get the dump truck.
Yeah.
And go pick up the trailer, and we'll figure out how to get the truck out of there.
Do you remember what happened when he got there?
Yeah. We couldn't hook it up because the trailer hitch was too far forward.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, well, just destroy the trailer because we got to get it out of here.
Yeah.
Just let it run into the frame.
Yeah.
And you didn't. So I called Buddha Mike.
Yeah.
And the next day, and we went up and
so we yeah, that's right. Mike and I drove back home in the dump truck. Right. We left the trailer on the road.
Trailer and truck.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went back the next day with Buddha, and picked it up and got the trailer to a parking lot in Somerville.
Yeah.
And then went back, got the truck, and towed it back
Lord.
home, and then had to go get the trailer.
Yeah.
So it was quite a disaster.
Yeah,
really.
We lost our kingpin there.
Yeah, well, we lost any profitability in our in that job.
Yeah, $500 more of gas.
Yeah,
just
so that
to
was
fix
the
it.
death of Big Red. It
was.
And that truck, it started Black Dog. That was our first dually.
Yeah, the one you got it right after you had a single rear axle Chevy pickup manual. That's the one I learned.
Would overload that trailer, and trucks would stop. Wouldn't pass me because the trailer was overtaking the truck. Because I was notorious for overpacking the trailer. Notorious. Thank goodness I always dodged the way stations. But
we got so lucky. We had some sketchy drives home.
I mean, I've had it where the tongue the tongue's breaking.
Yeah.
But it just didn't break it until I got to the parking lot. And I kind of got a garden angel.
A garden angel.
That kind of watches over me. You know, it says, we're not gonna strand you this time.
Not your time.
No.
Yeah.
But you were gone.
Yeah, but I remember I didn't make my final, as I remember. Yeah. Not that it mattered because I dropped out of college not long afterwards. But
we didn't help that. That's for sure.
Well, and of course I probably tried to pretend like I was concerned, but in my head I was like, no final exam.
Yeah, it's like got to pass.
Yeah. But that was Fairmont. That was
there's one other thing that we found in the basement, which was pretty cool.
Oh yes,
and that was that was a little hydroplane. Yeah,
you and Robert found a 1950s era speedboat.
Yeah, a one-man hydroplane, and it was you knelt in it. It was kind of you would kneel on it and it had a suicide shifter or a dead man stick or whatever. If you fell out of it, you let go of the throttle, and it would stop.
I mean, this thing of surfboards are longer than
and it only had like a 15 horsepower on it, but this thing was only 8 feet long, maybe. Not even that.
Yeah.
And it cleaned up really well. The skin on it, or the dope they call it, what they put on aircraft, was cracked. Mm-hmm. And there's people still run those things.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, it would be so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you're down on the water. I mean, probably your body's, or you're about 6 inches off the water, and you're just flying.
So this thing had foils underneath it?
No, hydroplane, not hydrofoil.
Oh, right. So it just skipped across.
It had like a little cavity, almost like a trimaran, and then it had a planing back end on it, so they called it a hydroplane.
Right.
Yeah. And it was made by the Neal Boat Company out of Kansas.
You remember that?
Yeah, well, I wrote it down somewhere.
Oh,
I watched it again.
Yeah,
that was a cool piece. We had it there for a long time, and finally somebody bought it.
Yeah,
everybody says, "Will it float?" I said, "Maybe."
Yeah, it is still boat shaped. So.
Yeah, it was, and the bottom looked pretty good. But it's I'm not going to.
Well,
you have to sign a waiver, by the way.
As we said in the beginning of the episode, it's probably not good to leave a wooden boat out of the water for that long.
No, well, this was a little bit different, but it wasn't planked like a barrel.
Right.
But anyway, that was the Fairmont. That was a good one. It really was. We had a birthday up there, and we said goodbye to Red and say goodbye to your college career.
Yeah.
Not a career.
That was a pivotal episode. Yeah.
A lot happened behind the scenes that you didn't see.
Yeah.
And it all just goes into the data bank, and when you watch an episode over again, it kind of brings all that stuff back.
Triggers things.
And you can remember. And we were dirty, by the way. We said earlier, it's funny that nobody would tell us that we looked like that. Both Robert and I had black all over us, our face.
Yeah.
Literal black face.
Well, and because I don't know that we said it directly, but Fairmont, West Virginia is a big coal town.
It used to be, yeah.
Or used to, and so in every house of that period, there's layers and layers of coal.
No matter
dust.
where you are, and listen, Roanoke's the same way. We go in and take an overhead down, and it looked like that at the firehouse. If you remember that,
I do.
Remember that?
Yeah,
it was even worse.
I guess because every building used to be heated by coal.
Yeah.
And so there was coal transport, there were coal chutes, there was coal being stored in the basement, there's coal being moved around.
Yeah, but it's the dust.
It gets so fine.
And it's charcoal. And
even though the house was so clean and polished and, looked well maintained, you pry it just a little behind something and it's there. Yeah.
And everybody says it's not. It is.
Yeah.
And I'll throw money in Vegas. Any house in this region, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Tennessee,
of that
era, everything is black.
Yeah,
doesn't matter where it is in the house, it's going to be black. And hey, that was the way that it was. They didn't, it didn't bother them. It was, a matter of fact, coal puts out some really good heat. You can still buy coal today for fireplaces. Robin Clark used to heat his house.
Burns hot.
Yeah, it does.
Real hot.
And it's dirty. Yeah, it burns dirty.
Yeah.
With anthracite.
Yeah, anthracite coal.
Yeah.
That's the
we just stayed in a
geological term
Stayed
for
in
it.
a hotel up in, where was it? Just recently up in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. And we stayed at the Anthracite Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they had 3 big pieces of coal in the lobby.
Whoa.
Anthracite, and it's called the Anthracite. It's really nice.
Cool.
Yes, Carbondale's, it had a fire. The coal mine burnt. And it seems like it burnt. I think it's still on fire, matter of fact.
That's the one where it started an underground coal fire.
Yeah, and it's still burning.
Yeah, that's the town that the horror movie Silent Hill was based off of.
Carbondale.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was was born up that way, up in Coal Town. My grandfather, great-grandfather were coal miners.
Yeah.
I even have, matter of fact, at home I still have the flint, the light,
headlight?
the light that he used to put on his helmet.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Damn.
And it was a hard life, very
yeah.
hard life.
Makes me think of October Sky, that movie about the rocket, the kid that developed rockets in the 50s.
I remember seeing it. I just can't remember.
Set in that era.
Yeah.
Homer Hickam.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's all I got. I think I've talked about everything that we did, and let's see. You think of anything else?
I can't really. We're at an hour. That was the episode. That was 23. That was our life on July 13th, 2013. No,
that's when it aired.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't look back and see when we actually did it. It wasn't
2012.
It wasn't
probably.
cold. So
No, if it was your birthday, it was April.
yeah.
So
well, there you go. There. Now I got
Context.
a reference. I don't know which it was. 60.
The big 6-0.
No, I was probably no. I had to be something.
This
like,
was almost 10 years ago.
I'd been 56, 57.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 60.
Just a young buck.
I'm 66 right now. I was. And
Yeah.
I mean, I ought to be 50. I ought to be 55 again, or 57 again.
That's one of the funnest, more interesting things to watch. It's just in your head, it's like nothing's. I feel like you guys would look the same. You look back 10 years and like, oh, I look so young. We all did.
Yeah. Well,
I look like a child.
I look about the same. I was heavier weight wise, and I always tell people, I says, "What did you do?" I said, "Well, the first thing I did was try to lose 10 pounds, and then get my teeth whitened."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because HD, high definition television has no mercy, and we didn't have makeup. We weren't Hollywood, so we didn't get all these brightening stuff. So you just wanted to kind of. I wasn't very vain, but just kind of doll it up a little bit. For
Just
the public,
a little.
Try to represent.
Polish.
Yes, and then wax on, wax off, baby.
But that's it.
That's it. It's a good time. Yeah, all that stuff's gone, so you can't have it.
Sorry.
It's out in somebody else's house now. It only lives in streaming.
Right here.
You can find it on Discovery Plus, Amazon, iPhone, iTunes.
Reruns on the Magnolia channel.
Oh yeah, that's right. They run us there 4 to 6 in the morning.
There you go.
I think that's everybody. I get a lot of folks that are. I watched you this morning. I said, I promise it wasn't me.
That's early. Yeah, I think this woman told me one time, you were in my living room last
yeah.
night.
It's like, whoa.
No, I promise you I was not.
I tell you, I said, I'd have called the cops if you saw me in your living room. I don't know who you are. But anyway, it's been good. Follow us on the YouTube channel. I got blackdogsalvage.com and
That's
Black Dog's YouTube, and then we got Lift Arc Studios.
Yep, both of us on YouTube, blackdogsalvage.com for all your online salvage shopping needs.
Yep.
Buy a hat, buy a shirt.
Get swag up, get some pickles.
Get some pickles and a hat.
And maybe get a mantle or something. We got all kind of good stuff, coming in these days.
Pickles and a mantle. I mean, where else can you get that combination?
Not many
of
places in the
goods?
world serve pickles and mantles.
Yeah, nor should they.
We don't do it that often. And it's not that we don't want to, but anyway, come see us.
Next week is the last episode of season 1.
Yeah, that's going to be the Washington Pike house, the drug addict. Turnpike.
Yeah.
Washington Pike. Yeah, that's what I call it. That's in Knoxville, by the way.
Is it?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wow, I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, that was where we had all.
Can't wait to hear me talk about it.
All the drug paraphernalia.
Oh,
remember that one?
Yes.
That's where I hit myself in the head.
Oh my God, y'all, we got a good one next week.
Bled like a stuck pig, as they would say.
Make sure you show up for that one.
There was definitely some blood. Mike's bleeding. Mike's bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
Nice cliffhanger. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening. If you got this far.
Yeah, if you're still with us, please, there's got to be something better you need to do right now.
But thank you for persevering. We go on sometimes. But anyway, adios.
Thank you. See ya.
Bios Candidos.
Coors, the Golden Banquet Beer. Yeah, baby.
All right, I'm out of here.
Bye now.
I gotta go downtown. Have a beer.
Oh, it sounds so hard.
Hoo-ah.